My name is Keith Stefano. I'm the COR Program Manager with the Construction Safety Association of Manitoba. Before we begin, as a reminder, if you've not done so already, please type in your full name and your full company name into the chat for all participants. This will allow for CSAM to track attendance as well as let everyone else know who's attending. And as always, if you have any questions during the meeting, we'll be monitoring the chat and answering the questions as we go. Here's our agenda for today. If you do not have a copy of the agenda and would like to access it, please visit our website, constructionsafety.ca. You'll find it under the COR program page. And here in the room with me, we have CSAM, the CSAM Executive Director, Sean Scott, and Sophia Doa, the COR Program Manager. First up, under updates and information.
Thanks. So yeah, just as we were saying, so I'm going to go over some key highlights. And one of the things that I did was I pulled data for the levied employer. So I ran data until the end of September. So that's your Q3 data. And what I'm doing is I'm analyzing your data in regards to how you're performing last year at this time and how you're performing this year at this time. So we're going to go over a couple of performance indicators as well. So where the industry was performing well, where the industry was needing improvements, where the numbers were a little bit different. So we'll go over that as well. We're going to go over your top three classifications as well. Part of this presentation also talks a little bit about our training standards and our portal that we have here at SAFEWork. Some of the highlights that are upcoming and here at SAFEWork and some of our digital marketing campaigns. So if you could flip the slide over, that'd be great. So again, for 2025, and again, this is pulled, and I have a little note there saying it was pulled in October. So this is live data. So as you're going into these things, if you are on Compass, you can see different numbers, they change. We refresh this data every day. So as things come in, that was the cutoff at the time. So the greatest volume of claims that happen in the industry is actually in your rate classification 40102, and which is your building construction. It has the most, so it makes sense. The age group is running between the 25 to 34, so sort of your younger group are seeing the highest amount of claims happening. Sprain strains are still one of the most common things. So this is your MSI type injury. Things hitting you, things falling from heights, struck by. Those are the things that we're still seeing in the construction industry. So struck by objects is still the majority of the injuries leading to claims. The things that people are working with, parts and materials, are the most injury common source that we're seeing as well. So what you're working with is actually injuring you. So whether something falls or lands on you or you run into, that's what we're typically seeing. And again, the occupation that has the most days lost is in the construction trades, helpers and laborers. So those are in the construction trade, those are the ones that we're seeing the most days lost. So in regards to performance here, green is good. Red needs improvement, and all systems are go. So it's all green. It's looking much better than last year. So the numbers are trending down, which is a good thing. In the province as a whole, what we're seeing trending up is actually psychological injuries, which is, I'm not saying it's not happening in the construction industry, but we're not seeing the data or the numbers that go with it. So the trend, like I said, right now is psychological, and that's something that SAFEWork Manitoba and construction associations and all the associations that are out there are going to be looking at. It's a trend that's going up, and the concern with the psychological claims is they tend to have long days lost, which means the claims last a little bit longer as opposed to getting a cut, getting some stitches, and returning back to work. If you suffer from a psychological claim, you may be off work for a considerable amount of time. So we'll go over the data here. So in regards to Q3 to Q4, or sorry, 2025 with the 2024 Q3s, these are the Q3 eras from last year to this year at this time. All claims performing better, so slightly better there. So about a little under 100. The time loss claims a little bit better. So it looks like, under double digits there of improvement. Severe claims. So this is a claim that's actually going to meet the definition of the severe injury claim that's in legislation. But we also add some extra factors to it, and really it involves time loss. So if a claim surpasses what it means in the definition, plus it surpasses 60 days, we're going to classify that as a severe claim in our industry, and you're going to see those numbers there. So the numbers are trending down as well there. MSIs are trending down as well, so 433 compared to 463. And the days lost, that's really where sometimes the rubber hits the road. That's where your costs a lot of times come in, are lower as well. So again, everything in the performance indicators is looking good for up to Q3. So hopefully we have a good Q4. And these are your classifications in the performance categories as well. So these are the top three in both either claims or days lost. So I pulled data in regards to the industries that are actually having the highest amount of total claims and the total days lost as well. So this is the majority of the claims and the days lost in the industry as a whole. So the building construction sector, 40102, has 764 claims. So in regards to sort of to reference that, what was typically happening, and again, in regards to that, this is trending up. Last year, we're at 649. But the flip side of that, in the total days lost, so for building construction, you're seeing a 27,432, and that's trending down. And compared to last year, it was almost 30,000. So what we're seeing here is there's less severe incidences happening in building construction, or they're being managed better. So it means people are returning back into the workplace quicker. So again, you're seeing more claims, but we're managing, or they're less severe, which is a good thing to happen. So again, and it could be people are now reporting more. It's tough to tell what the data tells you, but the claims are going up, but the days lost are going down. So that's a good sign if things are trending up and then the days lost are going down. The plumbing, installation, and mechanical side, so you're seeing trends going both down compared to last year. So you're seeing these numbers trending down both ways. So whether it's the total claims as a whole or the days lost as a whole, they're both trending. In regards to number 3 there, electrical contracting, so that one is trended up slightly. So last year at this time it was about 166. So we're seeing a few more claims. And the days lost, the tower and energy construction sector there, they're seeing a trend which is a little bit higher. So again, not a lot, I'm not saying there's not a lot of days lost in there, but it's a smaller proportion compared to the rest. But they are trending up, in the proximity of about 2,000 days more than last year, trending at this time. Okay, if you can flip the slide. Training metrics, or sorry, training standards. So the metrics that we have here. So these are the training standards that we have here at SAFEWork. So right now, currently, we have 19 training standards. And these are standards that we've developed here at SAFEWork with help with consultation from key members in the province of Manitoba, safety associations, to get training standards so that we have sort of a defined process for people that are looking to do training in the province. And there is a list on our website of the training standards that are there. We have a portal as well that you can sign up to take training. It's on our website, and you can take a look at those. In essence, what we also do here is we endorse the training. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and take a look at the courses that are available. So whether in person or online, we're going to review them, take a look at them, and then we're actually going to observe the courses and the trainers as well. So not only do we look at the material, we actually look at the trainer as well, and we endorse both. And we'll put them on our website saying these carriers are endorsed, and these trainers are also endorsed by the company that's actually doing it. Training standards that we're looking to release soon. One of them is going to be lockout. So we're going to be getting that one ready to get released. And an upcoming one, we're going to be doing the flag person one as well. So that's going to come out in regards to training standards. We also have our committee, our CLC, the Committee Leadership Conference. SAFEWork is running it. We're running it next week. It is sold out. So good opportunity for committee members in the province to take some training. 2 guest speakers or keynotes, Tina Veragis, as well as Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod, so the Body Break people. So a little nostalgia there for people that remember Body Break. There'll also be a keynote as well. Our workshops are really trying to address a lot of the mental health in workplaces. So we are looking to have a good chunk of energy and time devoted to that at the workshop. And again, we want to thank CSAM for supporting the conference as part of our trade show as well. We also offer here at SAFEWork on the return to work side. We have return to work and WCB basics. So we have a couple of courses still left for this year. So they're running out November 19th, December 20th, And also, I think that's it in regards to those two. So we have a few dates left, but we're working on our schedule for next year. So we do offer in-person, so you can take it at the location here at 363 Broadway, or you can do a virtual workshop. So it says there 1.5 days. We're going to be shrinking that to 1 day. So it's going to be a 1-day virtual workshop and a 1-day in-person workshop. It's free. We don't charge anything. You got to sign up. WCB Basics teaches you a little bit about what the WCB does and how claims are made and what you need to do. Where return to work strictly focuses on returning someone back into the workplace. We are currently working, because of the psychological claims, on something called complex return to work, with a gear really towards identifying complex return to works, which typically end up being psychological or catastrophic injuries. And how to deal with those, because some of them will have different points and things to take care of and things to do. So it's really about addressing that, and we would want for someone to take the return to work basis course as a prerequisite before they take the complex return to work course load. So that's coming up. That'll be coming up, I'm hoping by, if not half year next year, Q2, maybe Q3 of 2026. So hopefully that complex return to work program is up. So if we can flip the next page. We also have some digital marketing campaigns. So we do our socials. We reach out. So you might have seen some MSI campaigns. We completed that in Q1. Injury reporting campaign. So we're making sure we report our injuries. That was in Q2. And we're going to see 2 new ones coming up. So a new worker campaign, which again hasn't been identified, but it looks like probably going to be sort of a winter campaign with a return to work campaign. So those will come out whether in media, commercial, that type of idea. Questions?
All right, we have a few questions here that Sophia is going to read out for you.
The first question from Brandon Westcan. Will we receive metric distinction on mental health claim in the count, for example, like incident, accepted lost time, and type like caused by repeat overtime, harassment, abuse, serious injured witnesses?
Do we have metrics? Is that the
Will
question?
he receive the metrics? Yeah, will he receive the metrics?
So will CSAM be receiving them? Is that the question?
No, the companies, I guess, is what Brendan's asking.
Yeah, we wouldn't do companies. We have metrics here. We run metrics. So the psychological claim is sometimes a tougher one to identify. And I'll give you an example. If someone suffers an injury, let's say they break their arm, and all of a sudden they develop a secondary claim to it, which is a psychological claim. They may not feel comfortable going to work because the injury was someone broke their arm at work or something like that. Although the physical injury was a broken arm, the psychological injury is bigger, and that takes the impact, but we code it as a physical break. So the data isn't 100% pure. So we have some metrics, but they're being underreported in regards to the psychological, because a lot of times they'll flip and they'll turn into a psychological. If we have a straight psychological claim, we have data for that, and we can pull that specific data. In regards to companies, if that was something that you'd be interested in, again, you can always reach out to your IBSP or SAFEWork, and we can work with that to see the data that trends there. And if you are online, you can pull up Compass. If people have Compass, you can pull data as well, but it may not work to the extent you need, if that makes sense. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, Brendan says that he was told that mental was classified into 3.
Into 3?
If you could elaborate on that, Brendan, that'd be great. Oh, witness serious incidents.
Yeah, that would be a psychological claim.
Okay. Harassment and abuse.
Yeah.
And the third one, repeat unscheduled overtime.
Again, I don't know if that would be, I can't really speak to that one. But again, we would look at that to see the defining factors of that, right? But those would be typical ones that we would see, right? Especially when you witness something in the workplace. You might not even been affected physically, but if you witness something, we would take, again, we would look at all those. So all of those would be claims that we would look at to see if that would meet the definition.
All right, awesome. We have a couple more questions here.
Another question from Bowinski. Rather than the gross number of claim, could you present a rate instead?
So a rate metric? Sorry, so what's the question?
Rather than the gross number of claim, could you present the rate instead?
Yeah, gross number of claims, can you present the rate instead?
We can do, like, again, I can take a look at rates, but we need numbers in regards to payroll and all that type of stuff to do it like an injury rate, if that's what we're looking for. I could work on looking at doing an injury rate, but payroll information is important in that.
Yeah, perfect. Another question here, when will the virtual be changed to 1 day?
We're hoping that it's going to be changed by 2026. So beginning of January, when we put out our new calendar, it should be, if not that first month or two, by the third month, I think we should have it down to 1 day.
And are sessions, or will sessions ever be offered in the Westman office area?
So we were just out there. So we did offer WC Basics and Return to Work. We go there twice a year to do that. I want to say the Return to Work, when we went out there, was not attended as highly as I'd like to say. I think the answer to that, a lot of people are saying they do the virtual in regards to waiting for an in-person. So the numbers are a little bit lower, but we do go there twice a year.
Question here. If struck by objects is the major injury event leading to claims, do you have metrics on what is the main type of struck by object? Example, mobile equipment.
Yeah, it varies. So again, I can define that data. I don't have it in front of me, but I did quickly look at it. But struck by objects is a vague sort of catch-all that they put things. But again, it could be mobile equipment. It could be things falling from heights. It could be you're struck by your own hammer. It could be struck by all sorts of things. So I can pull that data if and I can give it to you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions for Carlos? It doesn't look like it right now. Well, thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. Sorry for the little delay of getting in there, but it all worked out. Thanks again.
No worries at all. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, Darren will be giving a presentation on stop work and improvement orders. Take it away, Darren.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Always happy to attend. I normally spend 10 minutes doing stats, and today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to probably spend twice as much time going over. This is a bit of an awareness session, but sometimes we call this what to expect when workplace safety and health inspects your workplace. This is about what happens when we show up. If you have any questions, if you save them to the end, that'd be great. You know, what does workplace safety and health do? And I suspect a number of you have had inspections before, maybe had documentations, but for those who don't, this is what we do. We enforce the Workplace Safety and Health Act and a number of different regulations. I just want to close something here that I have open. Good. But this slide talks about that we do inspections, we conduct incident investigations, we investigate work refusals, and when a worker is exposed to a reprisal or something bad happening to them for doing the right thing, we can issue penalties and lay charges. We're involved in the development of standards and training programs. We issue blasting and hoisting certificates. We license audiometric technicians who do hearing tests. And we inspect electrical installations in mining. We conduct health surveillance and promote awareness, conduct research. There's a lot of different things. Sometimes that last bullet talks about that we can also conduct enforcement on behalf of Health Canada, looking back at COVID. And we're also involved with the federal labor program as well as Manitoba apprenticeship with respect to journey persons and compulsory trades. So a lot of stuff in the news about that lately with respect to journey people and apprentices and being authorized to perform work in a compulsory trade, but I digress. Next slide. Here's a QR code that will take you to our Safety and Health Act and the regulations that we enforce. This presentation will be available at the end, so you can use that QR code to access our publications and documentations. Next slide. When I show this slide, I mentioned to folks that overwhelmingly our inspections go well. 90, 95, 96% of the time we show up, we do an inspection, and it's a good experience for everybody. Our inspections are free. They don't cost any money. It's often there's no incident that's happened. These are proactive. It's a chance to measure your safety program, make some improvements, a fresh set of eyes. But when it does go bad, you know, that 1 or 2% of the time, and sometimes we get told that we're not welcome or different things. I just think it draws back, it sort of draws back to the act and the powers of a safety and health officer. Our officers have a lot of authority. I always say the same thing. Our officers have more authority in your workplace than a police officer does. I can show up at any time. And I can inspect stuff and I can take stuff and I can speak to people and I can, you know, police can't do that without a warrant, and I can do that. But I often think that when things go sideways, it's just because people don't understand how many authorities and duties, powers an officer has. These are them. I won't go through them all, but the important ones that I can come to your workplace anytime, so far as is reasonable. And I can involve other people in that inspection. So there's a lot of powers of a safety and health officer. Next slide. So here's what you can expect when we show up. I manage, I and another manager manage the field officers in this region. There's another manager in Brandon, one up north. We all operate the same way. We expect our staff, when we show up at your workplace, we want them to introduce themselves. They're gonna have an ID card with their picture on it, and it's gonna show on the back what some of their authorities are, particularly with entry to your workplace. And they're gonna have that discussion to explain what's going on. We start at the front door. We don't just walk into the shop, unless there's a real good reason for that. But we're gonna have a full discussion and let everybody know what to expect. We'll have all the PPE that we require to enter your workplace. If not, we're coming in. If we don't have something that's required, you let our officers know. We'll manage that. We'll come with what we need, and if not, we'll find out what we need. I can request a safety committee member to accompany me, whether it's a committee member or a rep, or even if you don't have a committee or a rep, I'll ask another worker to join. Interesting piece of information here is there's nothing for me to compel an employer to come with me during the inspection. Very interesting. If I show up and say, let's go do an inspection, and you're the employer and you say, I have better things to do, then I can continue on with the inspection. I don't need to have you with me. But the regulation allows me, or sorry, the act allows me to require a committee member at my discretion. We'll often do that. Doesn't happen very often, but it doesn't happen very often where the employer says I'm not coming. But we'll often ask for that committee involvement. We like to see the internal responsibility system is working well. We'll look at your safety and health program. We'll review hazard. Oh, we got to go back one. We'll review hazardous tasks. Look at different processes, procedures. Do risk assessments on the fly. Review equipment, review training and supervision at the workplace. Essentially, I wrote a couple notes. We want to measure the place against the regulations. Compare you to what's actually prescriptively required in the province. We want to identify uncontrolled hazards and then take actions that are reasonable in the circumstances to correct some of those issues. Next slide. Here's the documents we'll provide. We'll never do an inspection in your workplace without leaving some kind of a document either immediately upon conclusion, or we'll send an email after. But these are the 4 documents you might get. You might get a report form or an improvement order, a stop work order. And then that last one is a preliminary inspection report. I got some examples of these. Next slide. This is on improvement order and or a stop work order issued. So an improvement order just essentially says, I seen something that didn't meet the requirements of a regulation. I found a contravention. The book says you have to do this, but you're doing that, so I'm going to ask you to do something different. An improvement order, you can continue performing work, but improvements are required by a specific compliance date. I'll provide the compliance date. It's got to be reasonable in the circumstances. And they vary. Sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer, depending on the severity or reasonableness of controls, etc. And when you get an improvement order, you want to make sure that management and the committee or the representatives are all aware, that they understand exactly what the contravention is, that they agree that it's a concern, and that they know what it takes to comply. And we want you to post that on the bulletin board immediately upon the conclusion of my inspection. For me, it's important that our documentation gets to your bulletin board, because your folks have seen us walking around with our vest in your workplace and they're wondering what's going on. They have a right to know. One of the workers' right is a right to know, and they see us and they want to know what's going on. So that's how they know. We put it on the bulletin board. Keep your bulletin boards fresh. If you have stuff on a bulletin board from 1979, people aren't reading it. It's covered in dust and they won't see when something new goes on there. Keep it all fresh. Change it up all the time. And then when an improvement order, something goes on there, they'll know that it's new, and it'll direct their attention over there. Next slide. Here's an example of an improvement order. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is what it looks like though. This is one for fall protection. And essentially it's going to talk about the title and it's going to reference the regulation. And that's where it says Workplace Safety and Health Regulation, Part 14.8, subsection 1. So that's a legislative reference. If it doesn't have that, it's not an order. Sort of like a speeding ticket. They get your license plate number wrong or something like that. The ticket doesn't exist. If it doesn't have a number, it has to have a legislative reference. It's not good. Down below, it'll talk about what the regulation says is required and what the contravention was, my direct observation, what I've seen. And then it'll have a blurb in order to comply, and that'll tell you what you need to do to comply. Sometimes it's generic, sometimes it's more specific, but essentially it's going to tell you what you need to do to comply with the improvement order. And then in the right margin, talks about the compliance date. This order was due on January 13, 2024. So that's the information you'll see on an improvement order. Next slide. Stop work order is a little different. So we're going up in the chain of severity now. I've seen something that poses an imminent risk to worker. Imminent risk means if I allow the work to continue, something bad's going to happen so far as reasonable. And I got to take something, I got to take an immediate action, imminent risk. So if I write a stop work order, it means everything is stopping at this location. The work, the job that I observed or the equipment I seen operating must cease immediately. And the stop work order will reference a specific activity or equipment or location where work is performed. And it has to stop at that location. Example, I catch 3 people on a roof 3 stories high on a sloped roof and nobody's tied off. And I issue an improvement, a stop work order. That means that they can't continue work until we resolve that. The fact is they can come down off that roof, go right next door and do the exact same thing again. Of course, I'll follow them. But the stop work order only applies at the address where the contravention is noted. Unless it's a province-wide stop work order, which is the next bullet, and that's for repeated contraventions by a same employer at multiple locations, and it's much more serious. When we issue a province-wide stop work order, it takes a lot to satisfy the safety and health officer that will allow you to continue work. That's for real high-risk hazards. And in my whole time with the branch, maybe 15 years, 16 years, I think I've done that 3 times. I remember in the last 5 years or so, we might have done it a handful of times. So it doesn't happen a lot, but it's extremely serious. And then for a stop work order, for that normal stop work order to be discontinued, which means you can continue to work, there'll often be improvement orders associated with that need to be complied with. In order for the stop work order to be discontinued. And once it is discontinued, that stop work order will be issued on a legal document. If you satisfy me or an officer that you've taken corrective actions to control those hazards, I'll provide you another legal document that discontinues that stop work order, and you can't continue until you get that. Next step, next slide. Here's an example of a stop work order. The only thing different here is that middle part where it talks about stop work order. And it says pursuant to the act, you're hereby ordered to seize and not permit the resumption of. Our officers will customize that and they'll add the information in there that needs to be stopped at the particular location noted above. If there's no information in there, there's no stop work order. Next slide. Complying with improvement orders. So if you got that improvement order and we've communicated everything to the employer and to the committee and we posted it on the board, and you know that by Friday you got to let me know that you've either got an eye wash station or you've developed and implemented a process for excavations or et cetera, the first thing you need to know is you always have the right to appeal. You have 14 days in order to appeal an improvement order that you think's been unfairly issued for whatever reason. And just to say a couple things about this, we welcome appeals. If you've been around, you've heard me speak before, I can only tell you every time I speak how important appeals are to our branch. It's how we learn. The fact is, we don't get a lot of them, probably abnormally low numbers. There's probably a number of reasons for that. And to be completely honest, maybe people think bad things are going to happen if they appeal. I can tell you when we get an appeal, we learn from them. The whole place knows about it, whether we win or lose. You have the right to appeal. We make mistakes like everybody else. And like everybody else, we're dealing with new staff a lot. So this is a normal part of our process. If you been issued an order, doesn't make sense, you have the right, I would tell you first. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I might issue an order today and tomorrow you find out, I had some more information I should have probably given you yesterday, but this order doesn't make sense today. Just call the officer. Speak with the officer, explain everything. I bet you can work it out there. If not, feel free to call a manager. You know, we'll take those calls. We can have that discussion. Maybe we can get people together and collaborate a little bit. But at the end of the day, you always have the right to appeal. And when you appeal, it'll go to the executive director and a decision is made. Important piece of information, the operation of the order stands during the period of the appeal unless you call the executive director and say it's not reasonable for me to comply until I make a decision. It's important to know that. Just by appealing doesn't make the order go away. But if you are ready to comply, then you provide information to the officer. You can provide details via an email, some photos, documentation supporting what you've done to comply. And if the officer is satisfied, then the officer will grant compliance with each order and provide a reinspection report document. Next slide. If you need an extension, so if we have a discussion and we're going to talk about having a safe work procedure for working a loan task, and I've asked you to comply by Friday, and you say, okay, I'll do it by Friday, and then Friday comes and you decide, you know, I'm going to need a little bit more time for a number of reasons. Just know that you can request an extension. You have to do it before the compliance date. If the compliance date comes and goes, you don't comply, and I call you on Monday to find out what's going on, you don't get an extension on Monday. That's non-compliance. It's a different process. We'll make this clear when we write the orders, that if you need more time, that'll happen. Just let us know. Just consult with the committee or the representative. Let me know before the compliance date. Give me the reasons for the delays. Provide me with any documentation that supports those delays, such as an invoice, or you know, we had to order something, or something was delayed, or we have, you know, a new process or a new machine coming. Let me know exactly how much time is going to be required and put some thought into that. You know, if you're getting a part that's going to comply with the order and it's going to take a couple days to install it and then test it, just build that all in. Let's do one extension. Let's all agree on it, and then let's meet the requirements for that extension and move on. The officer determines whether the extension is granted or not, and they can only grant an extension where there's a reasonable expectation for compliance. If compliance date is Friday and you ask for more time and I ask why, and you say, because I haven't had time, probably not getting an extension. I just need to know that there's a reasonable expectation for compliance, and we'll work with the employer. We don't often do back-to-back extensions. That's why we're really looking for some research to be done to determine how much time is actually needed. Stuff happens though. And then based on the extension time could vary based on the hazard, whether there's been a previous extension or the reasons provided. Next slide. Getting to the end here, hang in there. Back to appeals, you can appeal anything where there's a decision made. So it might have been an improvement order or a stop work order. Could have been a reprisal, and a reprisal is where somebody says, you know, I tried to exercise a duty, or, you know, do something that I'm required to do, reporting a hazard, etc., and I was either fired, or I'm not a supervisor anymore, or now I'm on the midnight shift for the rest of my life. So if a decision is made regarding that, or work refusal, these can be appealed. Any decision is made can be appealed within 14 days, goes to the director, not to the safety and health officer. It gets received by our policy team, which is separate from the inspection team, for some separation, and they gather information on behalf of the executive director. It completely goes around me. And as I said earlier, the order stands during appeal. Decision gets made. We keep metrics on that. We know how long it takes for that. And I normally provide that in my presentations, but I don't have it prepared here today. Next slide. Next slide when you're ready. Non-compliance. So this is, so the compliance date has come. Compliance date was last Friday. I called you on Monday, asked you what's going on, and you said, yeah, listen, we forgot, or we haven't had time, or, you know, it's baseball season, you know, et cetera, et cetera. The order goes into non-compliance, and it means we need to come up with a plan. We'll be much more direct with the employer. We'll look exactly for the plan to comply. We'll provide a reinspection report that puts the order into non-compliance, and then it's monitored. Orders in non-compliance status are exposed to the administrative penalty process. Doesn't happen every time, obviously, but it is a tool for when non-compliance status is identified and improvement orders exposed. Can be $2,500 where there's a control required. So if there is a machine safeguard required, or a new trench cage, that can be $2,500 for not complying. A more procedural improvement order for like a safe work procedure or some training documentation can be $1,500. We don't do a whole bunch of them, but it's important to understand that non-compliance is not a status you want to be in. And if you do find yourself in that status, it's in your best interest to get us information as soon as possible to find a way to comply and get a plan together. And for your information, stop work orders administrative penalties, and all prosecutions are posted on our website. This is of particular importance when I'm doing presentations for, next week I'm speaking at the Safety and Health Conference for SAFEWork Manitoba, and we were talking about it earlier. I think Carlos was talking about it. It's good to know that Joanne and Hal McLeod from Body Breaks are doing the presentation in the morning. It reminds me not to sit in the front row in the morning for the presentation, but I'll say there, I'll make sure that the people in that conference know that we post this important information on the website, because I think people have a right to know good employers from bad employers. And when I'm talking to parents and I say, do you know where your kids are working? And they say, yeah, I don't know that much about it. I just make sure that they know that, if I have a kid in this environment, I'm going to check to see how many stop work orders and administrative penalties and prosecutions the employer has where my kids work. It's just something that I would do. Next slide. Yeah, so just further to administrative penalty to finish this up, and I think I talked about this, but this is the fine structure. So we'll go past that. Next slide. Prosecutions. So under the Workplace Safety and Health Act, where something has been prosecuted, and this is typically for something real serious, could be a fatality, real serious injury. The first offense maximum prosecution fine is $500,000. And it can be up to $1 million for a second or subsequent offense, plus a maximum of $50,000 for a first offense or $100,000 for a second, for each day that the offense continues. And where criminal negligence has led to a serious workplace injury, illness, or fatality, charges may also be laid under the Criminal Code of Canada, which recently occurred in New Brunswick, where a supervisor was jailed for the death of a young worker. So this is our prosecutions branch. We're actually without a prosecutions director presently, but I know we're in the process of recruiting one. But that's somebody that runs that part of our business on behalf of the branch. Next slide. That's my presentation. This is my contact information. Feel free, contact me anytime if you have questions. And I imagine there's a few here today. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, we do have 4 or 5 questions here. First one, how are psychological injuries assessed? Are there assessments to determine the legitimacy of a psychological injury or injuries?
We're in the development of regulations and our enforcement and inspection process around psychological safety and health. The assessments are conducted by the employer. When we're doing risk assessments, we measure severity, frequency, and likelihood, and it just meets the same type of risk assessment schedule as we normally would. I don't have a lot of information on psychological safety and health, only because it's an emerging new regulation, but I know that there'll be information early in 2026 to talk about that.
Perfect. Thank you. Next one here, when getting a visit from workplace, how does this affect a company's rates?
It doesn't affect the rates from being visited. If your rates, that's a separate business from mine. I shouldn't speak to that. I think I know how it operates, but that's a question for WCB. But rates under WCB are guided by injury illness stats, not by a number of inspections.
Perfect. Next one, when a subtrade receives a stop work order on a prime contractor's project, what is the extent of the prime's responsibilities to ensure that the scope does not proceed until the stop work order has been discontinued or lifted? Often the GC is never aware of the stop work order issued to subtrades.
Good. I don't see this question here. I'm looking just to kind of keep up, but yeah, I'm not seeing that question, but just to answer, I think I understand it. Number one, the Act requires that if I write an improvement order to a contractor or subcontractor where a prime contractor exists, where that prime contractor situation exists, I have a responsibility to copy the improvement orders or stop work order to the prime. If that doesn't happen, that needs to happen. And we speak a lot to that here. The responsibility of the prime is to oversee the activities of the subs, but really the contractor, the employer who received the improvement order, has the ultimate responsibility to comply with the stop work order and the improvement order. The prime gets notified so they can follow up and ensure that systems are in place to monitor that going forward. And they probably want to understand the implications or what happened to see if there's something that they can learn or work with that contractor on improving their program.
Perfect. Is a company, for example, roofing company that receives a stop work order allowed to complete enough work to prevent further damage? Example, rain damage to the building before the stop work order is resolved?
That's a good question. So it sort of depends. And, I want to make sure that I'm clear in my answers as best I can. A stop work order says everything has to be stopped. I can only tell you my examples as a safety and health officer, the people that report to me. If we stop you, you're coming off the roof and we're having a discussion. If the roof is wide open, and there's a concern with that, and there's a stop work order, ultimately the employer who stopped has to make a determination on how they're going to get that sealed up. We'll often let the employer or the crew who's subject to a stop work order take action to get their tools and their personal effects off the roof. But when it comes to doing anything to close up that roof now, that's going to come to the discretion of the officer and the availability of controls. There's been many times where I've issued a stop work order and that company is not going to go back up there to close the roof. They've had to make arrangements with another company who's going to meet their obligations to comply with the regulations in Manitoba to do that work for them because they're under stop work order.
Okay, next question here. As with some of the jurisdictions, is there a plan to issue other orders directly to workers for safety violations similar to traffic tickets?
As under the Workplace Safety and Health Act, anybody with a responsibility or a duty under the act can be issued an improvement order. This happens in a lot of different jurisdictions. It hasn't been that well understood in Manitoba, but it can happen. Yes, it can. Does it? That's a different question.
Right. Do we have any other questions? Oh, when is the next round of amendments expected to be ratified?
Not my specialty because I'm more on the inspection side than on the policy team. We have folks that are working very hard on the development and drafting of new regulations. I bet you Sean Scott, your executive director, would have more information than I would have, at least probably more current. But I believe that there's different levels of packages being created for release, and they're prioritized based on priority, obviously. But I can't speak directly to that. I know that there's movement towards a number of those things in early 2026. So I don't have a lot of details on that.
Yeah, Darren, I don't have specific details, but generalization is, yes, the minister has established a Workplace Safety and Health Advisory Council. So you remember the act and the regs went through review with the group and a committee, and then this council is developed to confirm that and provide the recommendations to the minister. So similar to I think you're right, it's coming out in bits and pieces. So there's the notice that came out that psychological injuries they have been updated a little bit with the act, and you're looking at creating some more details specific to the types of industries that are mandated to have a program in place to deal with psychological injuries, and everyone else has a risk assessment to have to do. And then coincidentally, this council did meet yesterday to review some of the content of it. So I think what's going to happen over the course of the next year and a half is there will be changes, updates to new regulations and or just amendments to the current regulations. And a simple example was part of the chat earlier is asbestos as well. So asbestos, you talked about training standards with Carlos, talked about some of, you also have a separate division within the Workplace Safety and Health branch itself with industrial hygienists that go out and do a lot of inspections dealing with asbestos now. And asbestos will be amended into its own regulation requiring anybody that's working with that to actually be properly trained according to the training standards in place. So there's a lot of things that are coming, and it's all based upon the recommendations heard, the council's recommendations to the minister, and then direction from the minister likely to your policy division to update and revise the act or the regs itself.
That's great, Scott. Sean, thanks very much. Let's see, the next question here is about a stop work order. And does this mean that all active jobs associated with the company stops or just a specific job? Just a specific job. And that's why the information on the stop work order has to be very specific to the task that's being stopped. If it just says stop everything at the workplace, I want you to know that it's likely not a legal stop work order. We have to know exactly what needs to be stopped. So it's going to be that forklift or that work on the roof or that work in an excavation at this specific location. It's only, the stop work order can only apply to the specific activity identified in the stop work order. And then there's another one about reminder about what the key inspection items are during inspections. That's the wrong question to ask me because we'll be here till till tomorrow. I love this job. Getting into a workplace, and I get to do it this afternoon. I don't get to do it very often. I get to go with new staff. Walking into a workplace and looking around and identifying hazards and being able to attribute that potential risk to a particular piece of the legislation or regulation, to me, I would do it for free. It's so much fun. We're always recruiting new officers here. I can tell you it's the best part of the job. But to give you a list, that list would be as long as my leg. There's a real skill in being able to walk into a workplace, whether it's manufacturing or healthcare or service, and be able to identify something that doesn't look great. We all do it as safety and health professionals here. You don't have to know what a regulation says to know when something doesn't look right, but our staff get to work with employers and identify these things and make improvements. It's a great job, a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely awesome. So that's, I think, all the questions that we have here. Does anybody have any more? I have one question, not really related to what you talked about today here, just a quick question for you, Darren, if nobody else has anything in regards to the PowerPoint. A question that was emailed in to me. I don't really see anything coming up, but I'll ask it here really quickly. Someone just wanted to explain what the difference or what requirements, if any, are allowed underneath hard hats. And I know I've heard this a lot lately, but just for clarification, they wanted to mention it today, and they just wanted to make some brief information between type 1 and type 2 hard hats.
Well, at the end of the day, you have to follow manufacturer specifications for that hard hat. And there's a lot of discussions about this. I'll tell you, I'm not comfortable seeing a hoodie under a hard hat. You know, seeing a hard hat with a baseball hat underneath it's not allowed. Religious headwear underneath a hard hat, not allowed. Like when you're, but I want to be careful, and I want to make sure that you understand there's a real prescriptive requirement for hard hats, and it's if you look in part 6 of our regulation, personal protective equipment is going to speak to safety protective headwear. Following manufacturer specifications is real important. There's a reasonably practicable piece to this, you know, and what's going under a hard hat and how does it affect the function of them. But there's a lot of rules about them. I think we'd be here a long time speaking about them. We see hard hats on backwards. We see hard hats with stickers all over them. These are all things that are contemplated in the standard around hard hats and expiry dates. These are things that an employer has to understand. But there shouldn't be anything under a hard hat that impairs its ability to fit and stay snugly fit into the head. We'd have an issue with. Sorry, I can't be more specific, but that's getting into stuff that's outside of something that I would speak about from a prescriptive standpoint.
That's great. No, and the other part of that was the difference between type 1 and type 2. Do you have any information on that thing?
No, not without doing a little bit of research ahead of time. I'd hate to give the wrong information. There's sure a movement underway or ongoing with respect to the new style of safety protective headwear. Look more like climbing gear now, and they have the strap underneath them. And the feedback I've received from workers says that they're comfortable and they think about them a lot less. And they fit and they're able to provide some warmth. You know, that's the other issue is that often people are wearing stuff under their hard hat to keep their heads warm, but there's liners that are available that are manufactured specific to manufacturer specs to go with those hard hats. So that's another option for those.
Yeah, no, perfect. And just on a side note of that too, with this email that did come in with these questions, I did mention about on our website, we do have an article about type 1 and type 2 hard hats some companies are actually making it a requirement as well. So that's a great read. On our website, if you haven't, please go there and take a look at that after the meeting for everyone that's attending here today, just to let everyone know.
Maybe I'll just say that our policy team has addressed this, and I've read stuff. I just don't recall the details. If anybody's looking for specifics on this, I can get you something that we've put together on the topic.
Perfect. Great, thank you. So that's I think a lot of questions today. Awesome information. Appreciate it, Darren, as always, coming to these meetings and giving all this information. And for those of you that maybe don't have or can't think of any questions now, his email is right there on the website or on the PowerPoint, I should say. Just give him, shoot him an email, or you can give him a call. Thanks again,
Thanks
Darren.
a lot, folks.
Today. Appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
Okay, I'm moving on. Today here, and next on the agenda is the Harmonized Audit Instrument. So just quickly here, by now, everyone that has attended these past meetings are aware that this is a standing agenda item. But for those of you who are attending for the first time, there are a lot of you here today. The next couple of slides will be reviewing the top 5 questions that have been answered incorrectly since our last COR Companies meeting. First, as noted, in our quality assurance guidelines, at minimum 1 full-time employee of the company must have the 4 required training competencies for COR or the 3 required competencies for SECOR. It is the responsibility of the company to ensure that at least 1 full-time employee has the required training, and anyone employed by the company may take these courses. These training courses do not expire. However, any lapse in training requirements must be addressed prior to the audit submission. The courses do remain with the employee or employees who completed them on your company's behalf. So basically meaning that if they leave your company, the courses go with them. 2 important reminders with this as well. You cannot use consultants or outside organizations that may be completing the audit on your company's behalf as trainers for these courses. Only 4 full-time employees must be listed. And 2, the hazard recognition and control online course will not be accepted as an equivalent course when submitting your company's audit. Only the 8-hour led instructor hazard identification and control course will be accepted. So this has been a little bit of an issue lately, but just to clear that up, just so you know for future, for everyone else for future in regards to that, it is the in-class hazard ID course. Now, if you're unsure if or who has the required training for your company, you can access your company's training records on the client portal or contact us directly and we'll be happy to send you a copy of your training records. Second, please remember you must have active work sites at the time of your submission for a minimum of 2 weeks. CSAM will always accommodate for sites that are ending soon or in certain cases postpone the audit within reason if an active site is not available. You just have to let us know. Also, a reminder that you can submit the audit up to 3 months early without penalty. And finally, a quick reminder to please submit your audit no later than on the first of the month that you originally received your certification. So CSAM does allow, CSAM does send out emails 1 month in advance for upcoming audits. However, as you know, emails do not make it to the proper person who will be conducting the audit. Sometimes goes to junk email or other folder, or the person actually has left the company since the last audit submission and CSAM has not been notified. So just keep that in mind as well. Any questions on that? Okay, continuing on. Here are the top 5 questions where points were lost in the audit from last COR meeting to today. Number 1 question where points were lost continues to go to 15.8. Does the company have a hearing conservation program? 5-point documentation only question. Now, the guideline reads a hearing conservation program should be developed for each company based on employee exposure. The company should be written and communicated, or the program, sorry, should be written and communicated to employees. It should include elements with respect to sight sound monitoring, optometric testing, hearing protection, and training for employees. So question, or the points are broken down to 1 point based on the creation of hearing conservation directive or policy, 2 points based on documentation in support of biannual, so every 2 years, the optometric testing for employees, and 2 points based on documentation in support of worksite sound monitoring. So to achieve full points for this question, you need to create and provide the hearing conservation policy, conduct complete biannual testing, and conduct the sight sound monitoring by using, well, simply put, this is the dosimeter. CSAM does rent these dosimeters free of charge to all members. So if you'd like to reserve one, please contact our office and we'll put you on the list. Okay, and a side note to that as well, I mentioned last time, mentioned again, sound monitoring apps on cell phones are not accepted as for this question as they are inaccurate. They're for entertainment purposes only with those apps. So just please keep that in mind. We've had a few like that. So unfortunately, it has to be the dosimeter itself is the easiest way to do it. So I recommend just contacting us for that. Second question where points were lost is 12.5 or adequate first aid records kept. 2-point documentation question. This question is actually up from 3rd spot at our last meeting. Guideline reads documentation must confirm that first aid records are being recorded and retained for all injuries. So the documents we're looking for would be simply or would be samples of completed first aid records forms that are located in your first aid kit. And that's it, really. Now we don't need to see names, you don't need to see anything else from the company in regards to that, we just need to see that it is being completed. That's all the documentation that is required for that question, okay? Next is, on the third spot, it is 1110. Emergency response plan has been tested for deficiencies and corrective actions taken. 2-point documentation question. This question has dropped to third from second from our last meeting, so it's trending in the right direction. Guideline reads, verify through documentation that emergency plans have been tested as per company policy or legislative requirements. Records must indicate the results of the tests and what corrective actions were taken to correct deficiencies. The documents we're looking for would be a copy of results of emergency response plan or plan tested, conducted, and corrective actions taken to correct any of these deficiencies. So examples would be a fire drill or a chemical response plan drill, and any deficiencies while you're practicing this. That's all we would really need to see for this question. Okay, now the fourth question, where points have been lost, was previously on the list back in 2024, dropped out late last year and early 2025, but unfortunately, since our last meeting, it's crept back into the top 5 spots. It is 12.4, are leading and lagging performance indicators measured. Now, this is a 2-point documentation only question. The leading indicators are proactive measures that measure preventative efforts and can be observed and recorded prior to an injury. Some examples of leading indicators would be root causes of near misses, percentage of inspections, or behavior-based safety observations completed on a job site. Now, lagging indicators are reactive measures that track only negative outcomes, such as an injury once it's already occurred. Lagging indicators include injury statistics such as frequency rates, days lost, and injury severity. The assessment rates actually may be a great associated indicator as well. Investigation outcomes and incident reports can also be considered as lagging indicators. So the ideal document to include should show annual analysis of safety and health performance. So example, a comparison of the number of first aid, medical aid, lost time, and near miss incidents, and the identified needs and trends. So people that are having difficulty with this question, we do have an example on our website under the training resource page that you can use. And if you're still having trouble with this question, that'll really help you answer this question correctly. Or like anything else here that we're going through, you can always contact us at any time, or your assigned safety advisor, and we'll be happy to come out and walk you through it. And lastly, final question for points for lost goes to 14.3 as a criteria for selection, evaluation, and monitoring of contractors been followed. 4-point documentation interview question. Now this question was number 3 on the list at our last meeting. So it is also trending in the right direction. So the guideline reads, verify through documentation that the criteria identified in 14.1, 14.2 have been followed. Majority of interview responses must also be positive in order to award points. The documentation example of what would be required is including a completed contractor's compliance declaration as supporting documentation. The interview question is asked only to management and supervisors and reads, how do you ensure your criteria for selecting, evaluating, and monitoring contractors being followed? So really the quick answer is to ensure that all compliance declarations are filled out and submitted. Okay. And that's it for that question. But on a side note to it as well, though, this is an all or nothing question, meaning partial points cannot be awarded for this. Now, are there any questions? So those are top 5. Are there any questions? Give everyone a second here.
We have a question here. Sometimes the book don't come with a first aid kit. If monthly checklist is provided to show we are maintaining supply, would this be acceptable for the 12.5?
Yeah, we definitely can accept that if we could see that it's still in regards to the first aid kits when using it. That's not a problem.
Can you repeat what the answer is for 14.3, please?
14.3. So it'd be a documented example of what would be required, like a contractor compliance declaration would be the supporting documentation that you would need for that question. Now, the simple answer put when answering for the interview would be to ensure that all compliance declarations are properly filled out and submitted.
Yeah, and this one here is actually pretty important as a COR certified company. This is the actual reason why you see in a lot of contracts or tenders, they ask you to be COR certified. That's the criteria for the selection and evaluation of contractors. The monitoring part is fairly simple. If you are asking them to provide you with copies of hazard assessment inspections, or they filling out this declaration form, any of that kind of stuff that shows that you're following through with this.
Question here for 12.5, would WCB notice of injury reports also meet the criteria? For 12.5, if we do see, we will need to see examples of that, and yeah, if you do have that, we could look at it. If you don't have anything in your first aid kits or anything like that, it's tough to say that that would be accepted for that still doesn't really show it as much, but that is great information, and we can't have it, yeah. So, all right, any other questions? All right, now just as a reminder, again, for these questions, always contact us if you have any issues, can't find it, don't know what you're, or just scratching the head kind of thing, just let us know, contact us, we will definitely, you'll get someone, we'll definitely come out and help you out. Okay, perfect. Next here, staffing changes. So quickly, unfortunately, both Chris and Dulcia, who are working in our Brandon office, have left CSAM. However, I'm excited to introduce, or in this case, welcome back after a short 2-year absence, Hasneem Manuga Taz. Happy to have you back to the CSAM team. So if you are in the Brandon area, close to our office on 10th Street, stop in with some Tims and either introduce yourself, or for some of you obviously in the West Van area, reintroduce yourself. Her email is up on the screen there. It is tasneem@constructionsafety.ca. Welcome back, Taz. Okay, activities and updates. So for 2025, our year-to-date, CSAM has had 26 new COR companies, 2 new SECOR companies, and 19 new COR equivalencies. We have so far completed 788 audits and verification reviews, 260 independent audits, and 56 site assessments. Currently, CSAM has a total of 950 COR and SECOR certified companies. Talking a little more about the quality assurance here. So as mentioned, so far in 2025, we've completed 56 site assessments. 42 of those had no action required, 14 had action required, and 0 companies had to complete a spot audit. So again, great job to everybody out there, every COR and certified company, to ensuring those standards have been met and are being maintained. Thank you very much for that. Hey, CSAM on tour trailer. So I'm sure by now the majority of you are aware of what the CSAM on tour trailer is. However, for those of you that are new to the COR meeting, as I mentioned, there are a few in here today. What the CSAM on trailer is, or CSAM on tour trailer is, it brings critical safety training in one trailer directly to your job site, offering hands-on demonstrations and essential resources tailored to your team's needs. CSAM provides practical guidance on fall arrest, head protection, eye protection, hand safety, and safe lifting techniques, so ensuring your employees are equipped with the knowledge and skills to stay safe out on the job. Over the past 4 years, CSAM on tour trailer has conducted 357 on-site demos, reaching out to a total of 8,224 participants. So here's a quick breakdown of the demos conducted since 2022. As you can see, the trailer continues to be very popular year after year. So, and although CSAM on tour trailer has winded up to this year, we're already booking dates for spring, summer, or fall of 2026. So to reserve yours, please use this QR code on the screen and complete the client services request form. I'll give everybody a couple seconds just to scan that if you'd like to get to the job form. And for those of you that are watching this on your phone today and really cannot scan this, there is a link off our website under the training resource page, CSAM on tour, where you can actually access the job form directly from there. So give everyone a couple seconds, then we'll continue on here. Hey. Continuing on here with our agenda, the new COR and SECOR certified companies. So since our last meeting in May, CSAM has certified 12 new COR and SECOR companies. So new companies are 102-18018 Manitoba Limited, Associated Engineering Limited, Double Electric Limited, Heavyscape Landscape and Renovations, Hidden Valley Enterprises by JD, Innovative Electric Limited, Mark McGarvey Construction Services, Rivers 3 Construction, T&A Electric, Tridestone Developments, Vista Building Solutions, and Winnipeg dig and demolition. All right, since our last meeting in May, there have been 19 companies that are celebrating 10 years of certification. They include Absolute Petroleum, Acme Technical Solution or Services, Color Design Decorating, Sky City Roofing, Creative Door Services, Deerfield Mechanical Electrical, Grandeur Housing, Jory Electric, KGS Group, Cone, Midlight Electric, Northwell Enterprises, RIC Services, R. Wilton Aluminum, SS Plumbing and Heating, T. Evans Electric, Universal Plumbing and Heating, Valley Builders of Morris, and BSL Canada. We also have 6 companies celebrating 20 years of certification, CSAM. They are Centech Electric and Controls, and Tempra Steel Builders, Parkwest Projects Limited, Precon Builders Limited, TL Penner Construction, and Valor Decorating. So congratulations to all our milestone companies.
So when CSAM need to access a site for core audit, prime contractors, for example, like site supervisors seem to have issue that they may be audited, it will affect them. Any advice for that?
So when CSAM needs to access a site for core, the audit primes, well, okay, so the site supervisors need to have issues. If there's an issue, we'll talk to the supervisor, or we'll talk to the prime on site beforehand, and we always actually try to do our best with any subs on site if we're coming out to let the general or prime know that we are coming. So if there is that type of issue, we can always reschedule it and work around the schedule that is out there, just to ensure that there's little disruption, and we're not coming out there to stop work, affect work in any capacity. You know, we're here to make sure that compliances are being met, of course, but we're also here just to do the audit for that one subtrade. So we'll always work around any schedule that and come out again if that is the case. So just let us know. Always let the subs, let the generals just contact us, and we'll work. Perfect. Okay. Next up under the agenda is item 6, new business. So we got the 2026 Safety Conference, Safeties, TUMEKE Ergonomic Assessment, and some upcoming training courses. Okay, 2026 CSAM the Safety Conference. Mark your calendars. The biggest, largest construction safety and health conference in North America and Canada. Canada's premier construction safety conference is back. CSAM Safety Conference returns February 10th and 11th, 2026. So join us for 2 full days of industry-leading safety education, networking, and inspiration. Don't miss out on this opportunity to conduct or connect with peers to gain valuable insight and strengthen your workplace culture. So there are several returning courses. Some examples like confined space, hazard identification, safety skills for supervisors. However, we also are offering 11 new courses. Some examples are AI in construction, conflict management, and legislation enforcement. So for a full list of the courses, you can please visit our website, constructionsafety.ca/the safety conference. And stay tuned, as registration will be going live in the next week or so. Next to safety. So the 2025 Safety Gala will take place on Wednesday, November 5th at 5:30 at the Victoria Inn Hotel and Convention Center. For those of you not familiar with the Safeties Gala, it was created to celebrate individuals and businesses who are committed to workplace safety in our province. During the gala, Manitoba industry-based safety programs and other safety partners present awards to individuals at workplaces for their achievement in occupational health and safety. So for more information or to register for this event, go to www.thesafeties.ca. So it's selling up pretty fast, so if you are interested, it is a weekday, so please get on there as soon as you can and get your spot reserved. Okay, next here, the TUMEKE Ergonomic Assessment. So although this ergonomic assessment is under new business, it is not new, actually. This program has been around for a number of years. So having said that, reason why it is under new business is because many of you attending here today, it is your first time. I think I said that a few times. So you may not be familiar with this, and this may be the first you're hearing about it. For those of you who have already heard about it, it's a great refresher. So musculoskeletal injuries, or MSIs, are injuries or disorders that affect the muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, nerves, joints, or related soft tissues. So some examples of how these occur are repetitive movements, awkward positioning or postures, forced excursions, vibration, and prolonged static positions. So the TUMEKE Ergonomic Assessment Program will identify potential high-strain MSI risk areas on the body. So how it works. Now, a CSAM advisor will come out to your workplace with a tablet that has the TUMEKE program on it. So what the program does is it videos a worker doing a daily or routine task. Then the program will analyze the task and point out the high strain areas of the worker or of the worker's body where the MSI risk is the greatest. So on the screen, you can see a couple examples of that identify the highest risk. Obviously, red is the highest risk of the repetitive or the musculoskeletal injury where it would be occurring. And then obviously it gets a little bit brighter from there, red, orange, yellow, and then green. So this program will also generate a report and some basic recommendations to help reduce injuries. Now, this report is also emailed out after the assessment has been completed for your for the company's records. Now, to date, this CSAM has completed 111 of these assessments, and overall, and over half of the risk assessments have been the lower back and upper arms, as you can kind of see there in the trunk area. Where these assessments or the highest risks have occurred. So now this assessment here, the TUMEKE assessment is free, and it's free service by CSAM. It only takes the same amount of time as a toolbox talk. So just keep that in mind too. We can do it as quick as possible. We can do it as long as possible as you want. So on the screen right now, there's a QR code similar to the CSAM on tour. You can actually follow this and you can book your TUMEKE ergonomic assessment. There's no charge as mentioned. And there's the website right there, the link, if you cannot find the QR code or it's not working, and you can fill the jot form from there, and we can come out and set up a date and come out for your TUMEKE ergonomic book assessment. The question here, is there any cost for travel to remote locations, so outside of Winnipeg? So within reason, so I'm assuming you're talking about audit here, Brandon. So obviously within the few hours of Winnipeg here, that's not a problem. We'll drive out there. If that's where the sites are, that's not an issue. If it gets farther up north, flying area, some place like that, we can we'll discuss it with the company and kind of go from there and see where the site is. And we'll always try to accommodate for any company at any time when it comes to the site locations here. Yeah. To the date, I don't think we've charged anybody anyway. If you want, Brendan, we can, but no, I'm just kidding. All good. Okay, upcoming CSAM training courses. So quickly go through this here. October 30th, hazard identification risk control out in Brandon. November 3rd, basic first aid with CPR. That's in Winnipeg. November 4th, working at heights. That's out in Winnipeg too. November 5th, with safety auditor training in Winnipeg. November 12th, 2 half-day courses, prime contractor responsibilities, safety administration. November 13th, we have legislation 101. The 18th of November, confined space, entry and rescue. November 20th, hazard identification and risk control. 25th November, principal safety management. And the 27th of November, we will have women's 2015 and train the trainer, 2 half-day courses there as well. Now, to get the full list, as always, you can go to our website, follow the link or constructionsafety.ca/training dates. And there's a lot more. We are to the end of this year and ready. I just put a couple of examples up here today. So if you can't make any of these or they're sold out, because I do fill up fast, the next batch will be available on the website under the training tab.
And we have a couple of questions here. So there used to be a supervisor 2.0 course offered by CSAM. Do you have an equivalent course still? One that has 4 hours.
Well, we did have that course at the conference, the 2.0 course that we offered. It's a 1-day rather than 2-day. And it was a 1-day rather than a 2-day. Now, do we have one right now? No, we don't have one on the schedule. If you would like a private course in regards to that, we could put one on. If you like, just let us know afterwards and we can look into that for you as well.
Yeah, just along those lines, and again, one of the things that CSAM participates with is the group that oversees the national programs of COR, NCSO, and NHSA, the Canadian Federation of Construction Safety Associations, who are basically our sister associations, construction safety associations across Canada. And a lot of them are taking their courses and making them interactive online courses. So CSAM is planning on utilizing some of these templates and some of the courses and Manitobanizing them to make them easier accessibility for all of the contractors here in Manitoba. So supervisory course, there are jurisdictions, particularly Northwest Territories, Yukon, one of them, I forget which one, but in Atlantic provinces that have a mandatory requirement for supervisory training. And they have actually put that into an online course as well. So that might be something coming in 2026. We'll be looking to see if we can have available for us here. And that takes the nuts and the bolts, the key components of the LSE program down into the Supervisor 2.0 onto an online version that you can do in your own pace, likely within that 4-hour time period.
A couple questions here. What train the trainer course are you offering November 27? It'll be the train the trainer course that we have offered first, but it'll be regards to women's train the trainer. Well, they're both half-day courses, so it'll be half-day women's and then the train the trainer added on in the afternoon. And we will be receiving a copy of the slideshow of this presentation today. Yep, it will be available on CSAM's YouTube channel in the near future afterwards. So in the next couple of weeks, so just stay tuned for that. We'll have an update on our website when it is gone live, and we do have it available for you. All right, so last little things here on the agenda today, the date of our next meeting. Now, we don't have a specific date yet, but it will be spring 2026. So it'll be in April or May is where we're going to be looking at there, but you can always check our website closer to those days. We do send out email reminders. However, to be informed sooner rather than later on all the new exciting things, including this that CSAM has to offer, you can definitely download our app or connect with us on Facebook, X, or LinkedIn. Like I said, download the app there because it's available, because that'll give you all the information you need, and there'll be some updates in regards to when the next meetings are going to be there. And it's available on Google Play and the Apple stores as well. Lastly here, just a quick reminder too, to please fill in or type your full name and company name into the chat to all participants for attendance to be tracked if you haven't done so already. And yeah, like I said, CSAM will have this COR Companies meeting available shortly to re-review on our YouTube channel, as it is great information that was provided today. Great to look back at. Again, that is all we have. Are there any more questions today? Not seeing any. So once again, thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll see everyone soon.